styling and profiling, much like the Ric Flair of the UFO community. He's wheeling, dealing, kiss stealing. He is the king of the UFO jungle, and he's here for the Unbiased UFO report. Fedora wearing Jon Hudson. How you doing, man?
Well, that was some lovely pats on the head after the crazy show you had tonight. It was a little bit hard to come on after that. It was impressive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was an intense show.
Yeah, it was really good stuff.
Show.
Yeah, it was excellent. Yeah, no, it was really good, and it was especially because it was neat because you could tell that, both Bob and they were holding back stronger emotions and doing a really good job of it, and it was cool. It was a good example for everyone to listen to. It was a good dialogue.
Absolutely. You got fans in the chat room tonight, by the way. Love John. Let's go, John.
I was gonna say, either that or they're bored and they're like, come on, let's go.
I do have to ask you one thing. How do you manage to get your fedora onto Bob McGuire all the way in Alabama, and then by the time he's off the air, you bring it back and you got it for the UFO report?
And your guest the other day was sporting a nice one as well. So, I think we got a little bit of a, hopefully we get a little bit of a contagion problem.
Maybe. What do you got for us tonight, man?
I got nothing, man. What do you got? I'm bored. It's a buffet. It's whatever you want, whatever you feel like. This is this is a hard time. These are difficult topics because they're topics that involve a lot of emotions. So this all wraps around starting with those 1,500 documents, right? So that 1,500 document release is what started this whole snowball of effect, and that's what started conversations about pregnancy and things like that, right? That I'll get to first, but what I want to make sure you realize that this dovetails into is that then this dovetails into this incredible article by Tim McMillan, which you guys have talked about, and so there's this really interesting story arc going on. But let me touch on the first part. So we saw coverage of this from many different angles, and the one I love that I get such a kick out of because I love her different angles and because it brings me back fond memories of MTV is when Kennedy interviews Elizondo. And even Kennedy struggled with the topic. She said something to the effect of, I hear there are, she said something about the unwanted pregnancies, and then she talked about bodies being invaded, and then she made some snarky comment about the fact that she was free tonight. So I mean, even she was actually, like poking a little bit, right? And then it cuts to Elizondo, and he's, he always looks like, he's about to, close the door on you and lock you away, and so and it cuts to him, and what was really fascinating was, hats off to Thomas Fessler for noticing this as well, was watching Kennedy through that interview, because what you don't know is, was the original playfulness that she took with the topic her idea, or did someone write that for her? Because what you saw was a fast shift from playful joking Kennedy to very serious Kennedy, where she actually really engaged with Elizondo and actually did a good job of keeping him on task and saying, well, why do we care? Like, why does this matter? What's, how does this impact us, right? Being really good about continuing to drive him to those points. And so it was a really good interview, but to me, it's been, because you guys touched about this earlier. The problem with a lot of the periodicals that were referenced is that if you had not looked at those periodicals, you would have been doing bad science. If you'd looked at them and you had not referenced them, you would have been doing bad science. If you looked at them and you referenced them, everyone's supposed to know this and be like, good, thank you, instead of like looking at it and going, you looked at those references. What were you thinking? How could you possibly look at that stuff? I mean, it's just like it's so backwards, right? It's good that they looked at it, because you wouldn't want them to not consider it. And then there's other things that were brought up in your interview today, where Bob mentioned the fact that that or maybe it was Nicole mentioned the idea that that there was a practice of taking known good information that had leaked and specifically wrapping it around a crazy story, giving it to tabloids to get it out there marked crazy, so that if someone starts talking about it, you have cover for the fact that the information leaked. And so we know some of that went on, right? And there's always secondary, tertiary uses of things. But I think that Kennedy's approach to the topic, I don't know. I guess what I liked about it is that I saw several interviews of people on the topic that were really bad, like X-Files bad. And then I saw some that were honestly a little too serious and grumpy. And I thought Kennedy did a pretty good job of kind of poking at the funny elephant in the room. Like, let's be honest, right? There's a lot of stereotypes about it. And then, going very serious and actually like really asking Lou some good questions.
I want to ask you, because when this came out, you actually sent me a how can I put this? A note along with the dirds that you were not happy that the experiencer point was brought out during these 1,500 papers that were released via FOIA request.
Yeah, and basically what I came to realize is that I was wrong, because for the very reasons I stated a few minutes ago, which is that if you were doing good science, you have to consider all the available data, and if you've considered data, you have to reference it. So duh, but when it comes to the experiencer stuff, even that falls into the same category, in that if you're going to investigate this stuff, it's hard to say that you've done it with any sort of due diligence if you haven't evaluated the experiencer. However, I still very emotionally fall on the side of the comment that I made to you initially, because of the fact that I have worked with a lot of people who have been through trauma, and I've been through enough of it myself, and I don't like to see people in trauma, but the last thing I ever want to see is people in trauma being wounded a second time in the same spot with a sharper weapon. So it's just, I don't like the fact that it has given a tremendous amount of ammo to a bunch of people that were just waiting for any opportunity to take a shot,
But here's
it's hard.
The problem, John. Here's the problem. What did these skeptics expect? Did they expect it was all going to be about these drone-type, alien-type vehicles that didn't have anybody on there? Or that people weren't having experiences?
Actually, Dave, no, but actually, to answer your question, I think I can answer it very directly. I honestly believe, because I can say that I was like this at one point. I think that a lot of them can believe there are aliens, but refuse to believe that those aliens would be doing those things to them. They can't believe the second part. They can't believe the medical part. That's the part they cannot accept.
Well, but either way, I mean, there's thousands of cases out there, not only by MUFON, but New Fork and other organizations that have reported this. I mean, you have to be very naive or extremely ignorantly staunch on your opinion in order to slam the experiencers that are putting their faces forward.
The most prestigious and well-respected person who's ever come out for any aspect of the phenomenon was John Mack. And that was all about experiencers. And how did we get that event and then not expect it to be covered later? That would be silly. But I still don't like it, because it opens up this incredible attack surface to a bunch of very insecure, very immature people, and says, have at me. and that just sucks.
No, I understand that. And we got about 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, the fedora wearing Jon Hudson's Unbiased UFO report coming on in. So, what do you take out of this then with a bunch of podcasters and people who are somewhat influential on UFO Twitter, especially absolutely making fun of the experiencers and the fact that the government has actually looked into a number of these cases?
Right now, it's a waiting game. And one of two things is going to happen. Either this is going to cause a pullback, like this will cause a backlash, which I think is probably, unfortunately, more likely. How much, we'll see. The second possible, hopeful possibility is that we adapt, because we can. We will. We just have to choose to.
Well, I mean, I understand that we can adapt, but I mean, the idea behind it, John, is the way it's being portrayed out on UFO Twitter. And it's all, look, it's not everybody. There are people standing up for the experiencers. Let's not say that the experiencers are just taking, shot after shot, even though many are. But I mean, there's a lot. It seems like the minute you come out in this field as an experiencer, you are labeled a liar these days.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, before the To the Stars Academy, and I'm not blaming TTSA on this, I'm just saying as a reference point, you could be an experiencer. You could be someone who had some traumatic or enlightening experience with an extraterrestrial entity, and there was no real talk about it. There was no real backlash about it. And John, I'm going to have to get your opinion on that when we come back here on the Unbiased UFO report with the fedora wearing Jon Hudson, because we are about to go to break here on Spaced Out Radio. We got the final half hour coming up with John, and then we are going to go into Shirky Poo's news for some more weird stories. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear, dude.
So do I get to say one F-bomb and one S1? Is that the quota now? Is that the
No.
But Nicole got two.
I know, and I'm disappointed in her. Now I have to edit after the show. Darn it. Plus, I think you have some very cute company beside you that you can't do that.
This is true. This is true. This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
Although it's a shame you can't keep it in, because, to be honest with you, her first one was incredibly appropriate and well placed.
It was. It caught me off guard.
It was very natural. It was very appropriate.
Let's give a shout out to Ashley Just, listening in for the first time tonight on our chat room. So welcome, Ashley.
Welcome.
And who else is here? Karen is here. She was brought over by. I gotta find it here. I apologize. Karen Lewis.
I gotta say, part of me really feels sorry. Like, I have a good friend who I grew up with named Karen. I haven't talked about this. It's got to be a little bit rough having the name Karen at this point. I mean, like, the whole Karen phenomenon is getting really out of control.
I think she's tough. If she's coming in to listen to a UFO field, I bet you that she could probably bench press 200 pounds and can, and she struts her stuff down the sidewalk with a lot of vigor. I'm just saying,
A lot of Spitfire.
She's a Spitfire. Thank you for coming on in, courtesy of Loyal to the Foil. Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Let's see who else we got here.
It's kind of neat when news actually breaks on your show. which then I have to take notes about and then report on later on your show.
I know.
Very weird, especially considering the fact that later YouTube will send me a notification telling me that this is on and I should watch it.
I know, right? Right? Oh, Simon in Australia
weird.
says, John definitely struts down the sidewalk. Oh, yeah. John is the reason why Right Said Fred created the song I'm Too Sexy. It's true. You can't make this stuff up. Shelley says, John, I don't care who believes me, but my experiences include asking questions and searching for what comes through to me that I feel like I'm being monitored. Does this really happen? John muted himself. He's thinking. He's thinking hard. Now he's going to...
sorry. My daughter bumped her knee, so give me a second here. I apologize. Give me a second here.
Yeah, no problem. Fun times on Spaced Out Radio. Just for the record, for anybody asking, I wear this hat twice a year. One on my nephew's birthday, and then I'll wear it again on July 17th, which is the day he passed. Those are the only two times you'll see me wear this hat. That's it. So,
the comment, this is their challenge, is that you have to put on every single hat in this game and look at every single person's perspective, because there is a lot of depth to the story, and that person's dead on. If you are an experiencer and you need answers, then you have every right to expose as much of your story as you feel you need to get the answers you want. And that's a whole different ballgame. That is you doing that on a very different aggressive stance. That's very, in my opinion, that's very different than someone sharing their information maybe semi-privately, and then some other information getting out, or them getting anonymously quoted in the story. And then to me, there's a difference. There's I don't know. To me, there's a difference. But I agree with the comment.
All right, John, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Big thank you to Linda, Simon, Science Bob, Samantha, Cat Chaser, Christina, Thomas, Amy, Jeremy, and Magnus for the amazing super chats, and very much appreciate the love and support. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up or thumbs down tonight. You can do a little shopping on our Spaced Out Radio website. Click on shop. We've got some really cool swag there. And of course, thank you to all the veterans out there who are tuning us in. You always have a safe place in our chat rooms. And all the regulars, you guys are amazing, man. Thank you for the love. And we've averaged over 200 people each night this week. It's been phenomenal. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone, wherever you are. I love it. Love the fact that we have people all around the world listening to us. The other day we had somebody in South Africa tuning on in.
All around the world, even flat earthers. All around the world.
All around the world, even for the flat earthers as well, who do not believe Australia exists. I don't get that one. I really don't.
God, Dave. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
I know.
I know. This interview I heard the other day, I could not believe this interview I heard the other day. It was so amazing.
Australia does not exist, people. No, it is not part of the Commonwealth. It does not exist. And
it's a stage prop.
By the way, reminder to all of you, you can check out our archives for free. Go to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Download them. Go to Spreaker and any Apple, iTunes, or any podcast shop. we're there. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio as well. And of course, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, reach out and read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Michael Gutierrez brings up a good question here before we get back into the UFOs. What about flat earthers that live in Australia? John.
The thing that's so hard for me is that I really do believe that anyone, even flat Earth, deserve a minimal level of respect and decorum and so forth. It's very hard for me, and I don't like to laugh, and I try really hard not to. But yes, there are some challenges. There are some significant challenges with yes.
All right, back to UFOs here, because there is no Australia according to the flat earthers. I know. We just shake our heads sometimes, but let's get to it. A lot of people in the UFO world right now who are not liking the idea that there are experiences that are being investigated, whether it's through MUFON or using the sources of the National Enquirer or even a Penthouse Australia magazine that does not exist, by the way, according to flat earthers. Take it away.
I don't know. To me, this is just look. There was always this big question of at what point is the experience or information going to be released? At what point is the experience or information going to be focused on? And is there going to be any even reason to focus on it? Right? I mean, is there going to be any positive outcome for them in any way, shape, or form? It's a whole other ballgame. And there's been this debate as to when it's going to happen. And I think for good or for bad, someone decided to drop some of it now, and what we're getting to watch is what happens. And now we can decide what to do. I mean, this was actually, unfortunately, a good test. Didn't get the results that I would like, but hey, it is what it is. I think in the future we need to be, and this is the problem, is that you can say, okay, we need to be more careful, but then how do you keep from doing what that other agency did that you were upset about, that was cleaning the cryptid reports, right? BF or whatever they were called, that were taking the reports and changing stuff, right? And that's the problem, is you start, if you start trying to modify the reports at all to make them more digestible, then you're not doing science. It sucks. It's very frustrating.
Well, as I said to Science Bob, though, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this, we do see a lot of opinion being thrown around as fact. And that is dangerous. Opinions that these experiences aren't happening. People being called liars and fakers, John.
Well, yes. So yes, and that comes deeper to that, because that just actually comes down very flatly to judgment. And contrary to our capitalistic views, judgment doesn't really have any place anywhere. And so the problem is that as soon as people start doing that, the harm that they can, even a perfect stranger can do so much harm to someone who has been in a violent abuse situation if they're not believed. It's really weird how the psyche works. The damage is serious. And so, but at the same time, you have to be fair. I mean, humans are humans, and we know how we behave, and we giggle when we don't understand, and we laugh about what we're afraid of. And so we do have to kind of accept to a certain degree that humans will humans, and we have to mitigate toward that effort, right? It's a process. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Is this is going to be a long process.
Well, how do we change it? How does the attitude of UFOs change? Because it still baffles me that many out there in the UFO land don't want anything to do with the experiencer portion of this. And yet the experiencers are obviously a major part of this entire phenomena.
Well, I mean, Dave, what you're basically asking me is, how do we take very embarrassing wetware medical exams to your personal body and turn that into something that you want to see on TV? I mean, this is the problem, right? Is it essentially you're talking about a subset of features in this whole phenomenon that by themselves are almost never acceptable to talk about anywhere in any topic, right? This isn't specific to UFOs, right? These are topics that no one likes to talk about. They're uncomfortable, they're icky, they're yucky, right? They're messy, right? They're very emotional. They're very emotionally charged. They can have huge religious impact. It's very dangerous stuff. It's freaking dynamite. I don't know. Part of my problem is that I come from a place where my personal is that if I can't show evidence for something, I'm probably never going to talk about it. And that's probably too strict of a set of guidelines, but maybe that's what people need to start taking into account. Maybe people just need to stop talking about the things that they can't offer some evidence for, because it's just going to be too hard to debate them if they want their thing to be talked about in public. Okay. And a lot of people don't. And I recommend, honestly, my recommendation to people is find some good friends. Tell them, talk about it. Do not go public.
I understand that, but you would think in a UFO community that it would be a lot more friendlier.
Why?
Why? Because you're part of the phenomena that's happening.
No. If I came in here because I want to learn how to go the speed of light or faster, or if I came in here because I want to travel to another solar system, or if I came in here because I want to believe reptilians exist, or if I came in here, none of those people want to then hear about proctal exams.
Well, I wouldn't say none of them. If it's happening,
if they went on that ride as well, then yeah, but I'm still not sure they want to hear about it. I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to be good material for media.
Oh, I agree with you there. I don't think the mainstream media is very, very up to date on the whole anal probing thing.
Well, that's the thing. So I don't
lead to shows like us.
Well, yeah, but I don't. Yeah, all these wonderful podcasts with all these people with all this training in psychiatry and therapy. Yeah, no, that's terrifying. That's the problem, Dave. Is that I don't know. I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's any venue to talk about these things. And I think that I think certainly people are welcome to talk about them if they want to, but I just don't know if we should be. I don't know. I think it's horribly challenging. Horribly challenging. Messy.
I understand that. I do. But hey, the community is big enough where it could support it all, and we should also be remiss. We wouldn't be remiss to say that it's not all the bad eggs out there that are saying it, and that's why I also posted on Twitter. If you're not an experiencer, you shouldn't be speaking for experiencers. You really shouldn't, unless you are involved in scientific study regarding the phenomena on people.
Well, no matter how you cut it, if I say I saw something and I was there and I saw it, For anyone else to say that I like to counter, if no one else was there, that's just weird. Right? You know, you have no data at all. You might say, I think it's unlikely.
You have no data on anything, though, John. You have no data on anything. And if you do have data, the community just absolutely drags it through the mud.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of this is about your comfort levels with what you're doing. You know, if you've done your best and there's ways, I don't know, to me, I don't know, to me that allows a path to do it. And I think a lot of this stuff, if you handle it more, you take like, I don't know if we're gonna have time, but the other thing I wanted to get into tonight, which is what Macmillan wrote about. I mean, to me, that's a much more professional, clean way of dealing with a similar sticky situation, right? Because we have in that case, sexual situations, harassment, intimidation. I mean, these once again are very sensitive, uncomfortable, maybe not quite as uncomfortable as some of the other things, but definitely up there. And because of the framework in which it's being dealt with, I think that it's a lot. Like, I wouldn't expect people to be making jokes about office relationships as a result of Tim's story.
Right? Well, I understand that, but that's a completely different angle to what we're talking about.
No, and that's what I'm saying is that maybe that's what's needed, is a completely different approach to it. And I'm just saying that there we have an example of a very different, I don't know if it's the right approach. I'm just saying it's a different approach. And it's an approach that allowed him to talk about some similarly very sensitive topics. And I don't think that exposed that group to ridicule, whereas the way we handle the other ones does.
Something to think about.